Hey, it's Sarah Pacaro, your favorite hypnotherapist. Today we are going to be talking about your maturity level, emotional maturity level, that is. And if you are emotionally mature or immature, maybe somewhere in between, and how do you know? So, if you like this video, remember to like, comment. I do try to get to and read all of my comments. And if you find that, yeah, it hit you somewhere, somewhere in there, deep inside, and you wish you weren't hit there, and you're looking for a fast, effective, and extremely powerful way to do the inner work to heal, because the outer work only gets you so far, then let's connect. But before we go there, let's go over the signs of emotional immaturity. And let's just say that it's safe to say that signs of emotional maturity are opposite of these signs of emotional immaturity. So we're going to go over what those look like. The first one is taking everything personal and believing that conflict is personal. These levels of maturity are based off belief systems, and your belief systems are established when you're growing up, right? In your environment, in your childhood, people formed, helped form and shape these beliefs about yourself. So you'll find that when you get stuck in a problem, it's always connected to something that you believe in. And if you believe that every conflict is personal, then you're more than likely acting and reacting in very immature ways, like you're engaging in the conflict, you're fighting back, and you are raising your voice, changing your tone to try and beat the person that you're in conflict with. And this happens all the time. If you've followed me for any length of time, you know that I come from a background of emotionally unavailable, emotionally abusive relationships, toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships. And these signs showed up in myself. These immature signs, these immature ways of being, they also were very prevalent in the narcissists that I used to be with. They're still in them, but they are things that I have worked out internally through the use of hypnosis and rapid therapy, rapid transformational therapy. So here are some signs, because in my own state of immaturity in the past, and I'm not claiming to be perfect, but I was a culprit as well. I did these things too. So it's one of those things that can lead a person to believe that they're the toxic person, that they're the narcissist, because you are also emotionally immature, just like this person that you manifested or attracted into your life, this narcissist in your life, because the wounds are the same. And that's why there's the phrase out there, trauma bonded. Your trauma, their trauma, locked on and bonded. And it's because of these signs and because of these belief systems. And the first one is believing that every conflict is personal, even believing that someone looks at you or that someone is looking like this. And you happen to be looking at that person. Maybe they're just in a grocery store, maybe they're at a coffee shop, and you see that they kind of got this RBF, and you're thinking, what's up there, right? Like, what's their problem? And perhaps you say something, perhaps you don't, but either way you internalize it. Maybe you get into conflict with someone. And if you're being honest with yourself, every conflict, after you're out of it, you reflect and digest, break it down, realize it actually had nothing to do with you. Yeah, you were fighting about this thing, but what actually was happening is that you were trying to protect this inner wounded part of you. So it actually has nothing to do with you, but you take every conflict personal. And even the avoidance of conflict. I don't want to, I don't want to argue about it. I don't want to argue, it's not a big deal, do whatever you want, right? And you take that personal, like you're not even good enough to stand up for yourself when you believe strongly about this, but you keep those opinions and thoughts to yourself because you don't want to fight. But when you do fight, you take it personal, like it's all on you. That's a sign of emotional immaturity. An emotionally mature person is able to realize, okay, I'm not going to take this personal. We can have a constructive conversation where we don't need to raise our voice, we don't need to yell, we don't need to scream, we don't need to gaslight, we don't need to belittle, we don't need to bring people down, because it's not personal. We're talking about this topic. We're talking about this subject. It's not personal, but it becomes personal when you or the other person goes, well, you, well, you, well, you, and you start pointing fingers, right? No one likes a finger pointed in their face. I don't, you don't, no one does. And of course, it's going to trigger something inside of you, like, right? That fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. So you're going to want to fight back verbally in this case, right? In the form of this conflict, and it can lead to other forms of conflict as well. So if you are taking everything personally, and you believe that every conflict is personal, and you don't have the ability to walk away and go, you know, that's on them, right? And but really feel and believe and know it's okay to agree to disagree, and that when you disagree, it's not personal, it's just that topic, and this person brings a whole different set of experiences, interpretations, and assumptions to the table. I do as well. And in that, we're talking about them. It's not personal. But if you are taking everything personal, especially conflict, it shows that level of maturity or immaturity. If you are bullying others and you're finding that you're always getting into conflict with people, take a look at the narcissists. They're bullies. They're just adult bullies, right? And they have the mental state and mental capacity of a child, a bully child, like a playground child. Well, now they're not running amok on the playground, they're running amok in adult life, but they're still bullies and they're into bullying others. That's a sign of emotional immaturity. It takes an emotionally mature person to not have to bully or put other people down to get their needs met or to get their point across. So that's just another sign of emotional immaturity. Another one that you see in all narcissists and all toxic people is this inability to take responsibility for yourself. And this shows up in all kinds of ways, right? And I'm just going to highlight a narcissistic relationship of my past, right? This person, even with court orders, and you'll find that especially in these high toxic, high conflict relationships, they're superior, they're above the law, and they don't take responsibility even when it comes to the law. And they will break the law, they'll break court orders, and they will not pay for certain things. They will not follow through with certain things, even though they've been court ordered to. They will not take responsibility for themselves, even prior to needing to go to court with this person. Even small, simple things. The bills were not getting paid. They were being lied about. We were getting late notices mailed to the house. And when I would present the evidence, hey, you said this was taken care of. You said this was paid for. It is. It was. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's conflict, argument. Well, that's because that person is emotionally immature. And if you engage in that, which I did in the past as well, that showed my level of immaturity as well. So that's another sign, is that you're not taking responsibility for yourself. So if you're seeing that this person or myself is avoiding taking responsibility, what does that say about me? What does that say about where I'm at? An inability to connect deeply with others is another sign. Well, a narcissist cannot deeply connect with others because they're avoiding deeply connecting with themselves. They're constantly projecting fears of abandonments, traumas, pains onto other people. Their own stuff is getting thrown out onto other people, and they're avoiding deeply connecting with themselves. And the other people that end up in relationships with them do that as well. The difference is those people, you know, codependents or empaths, really desire and want that. And they can see the pain and trauma in the other person, and that's actually what they connect over, is that pain and trauma. But they want that deep connection with the person. And the only way to get that is to have that deep connection with yourself first. So emotionally immature people lack the ability to deeply connect with themselves and then with others. Anything that's going on internally gets reflected externally. So another sign of emotional immaturity. The next sign is very strict, very in the box, very rigid thinking. That shows a maturity level. If you are not able to step outside that box, or to even see that you're in a box with your thinking, it's so rigid, it's so black, it's so white, it's so this way, it's so that way. It's so I'm right and everyone else is wrong. That's rigid thinking, this in the box, stuck, structured kind of thinking. And that just shows a maturity level. And it's a sign of emotional immaturity. If your thinking is so rigid, so stuck, and you get up to and you even push the boundary, you push the line, and then explosions, that's a sign of emotional immaturity. You should be able to stretch. I mean, our thoughts, our brains are malleable. They're able to change constantly. I mean, think about a problem you once had and now you don't have it anymore. Well, where did it go? Right? And it's malleable. And that's actually the way that humans are designed to be. So if you are so stuck, so structured, so rigid in your thinking, that's a sign of emotional immaturity. And that may lead to the next thing, that you become very, very defensive when other people set boundaries with you. I always say this, right? The people who hate your boundaries are the ones who benefit from you having none. A narcissist benefits from people not having boundaries. So, and then when you realize, wow, I'm being taken advantage of, and this person's treating me horribly, and then you begin to implement and set those boundaries in place, the narcissist, that's when they become defensive. And that's when you enter into the devalue discard phase and the narcissistic rage begins, is because they're not able to continue to walk all over you, to use you, to abuse you the way that they once could. And so they get defensive. It's like, oh, you're going to take that away from me? Really? Watch this, right? And that's when the threats come in. Watch what I can do. And oh, really? You think you're this? You think you're that? Watch. And then the threats. And that can connect to deep fears within you. And then you freeze, right? Again, fight, flight, or freeze. So you freeze in that moment and then maybe do nothing. But internally you become defensive. And when that happens in the case with the narcissist, you begin to beat yourself up and wonder, gosh, what's wrong with me? Why can't I get out of this? Why does this feel so hard? And then you isolate, you feel alone, and all those other things that occur that they end up benefiting from. But what it really boils down to is a level of emotional maturity or immaturity. And it's a sign of emotional immaturity when you get defensive when others set boundaries with you. Maybe you don't like it. Well, what is that telling you about you? It's showing you where your emotional maturity is at in regards to levels, and it's probably down in the red. If you think about it like green, yellow, and red, it's teetering down in the red or yellow if you're becoming defensive when other people set boundaries with you. If other people say no, and you're like, really? And you become defensive and you start to put them down or talk about them behind their back or whatever it is, that's a sign of emotional immaturity. And you probably feel it within you when that happens. If you get defensive when other people set boundaries with you, it's very apparent in the narcissist. If you feel controlled, narcissists will never admit this ever, but you may, if you're on this journey to healing, especially after having been with one and you're taking a look at this root cause or why or where this comes from. I don't like that this is the way that I feel and the way that I am, but I'm identifying that it is, and I'm ready to not be that. And you feel controlled, you feel trapped by your emotions. So your emotions have you feel constricted and restricted. And when I'm working with clients, a lot of times this shows up in knots in their throat, or this tightness in their throat, this heaviness in their chest, like someone is sitting on their chest. There's a weight around their shoulders. It shows up in many different ways in different areas of the body. And you feel controlled, bound, and restricted or trapped by those emotions. That's a sign of emotional immaturity. It's also a sign of many other things that we can get rid of with working together, but it kind of shows you again that emotional scale, the green, the yellow, the red, shows that you're stuck down in the red or yellow if you feel controlled or trapped by your emotions. Another one, and this is what can keep people in an unhealthy relationship for far too long. You believe that others can save you. And you believe that this relationship that you're in, or if I just find the one, and when I find that one, they will save me. And this ends up getting a lot of people in trouble. They get stuck in these financially dependent or emotionally dependent relationships, and they think, well, they can save me. They're the one. And then those feelings creep in, the fear, the doubt, the worry, the inability to have boundaries because I can't let this person go. Like, what, all my eggs are in their basket. They're supposed to be the ones to save me, and we're supposed to run off on this white horse together and live happily ever after. And I'm not saying that you can't have a healthy relationship where you feel that, but if you believe that others can save you, that's a sign, again, of your emotional immaturity. I mean, anything can happen at any time in any relationship. What if that person you're with gets really sick and then passes away, or gets in a car accident and passes away, and they were supposed to be the ones to save you because they had the job and they made the money, and they, right, and they loved you in a way that no one could love you. What if that person is gone one day, right? We never know what our next day is. What if that person is gone tomorrow by whatever methods or means, but you believe that others can save you? That's a sign of emotional immaturity. If you really, really believe that, but you may be so stuck in your own fear, trapped by your own emotions, and avoiding taking accountability for the things that you need to take accountability for in your life, and so afraid, right? So you may be stuck in your rigid way of thinking, feeling controlled by those emotions, believing that others can save you, and not taking responsibility for yourself. All of that boils down to your maturity level. So I ask you, where are you on that scale? Are you in the green? Probably not, because you probably won't be watching a video like this. Or are you in the yellow? Are you stuck down in the red? And you're stuck with another person that's down in the red. No wonder you're fighting and so angry all the time at each other and at life and at everything and the kids and the relationship. You're both stuck in the red because you're both emotionally immature. So if any of these things connected, related to where you're at in your life or your relationship, and you're tired of being stuck in the red, but you don't know what to do. Okay, side note, if you're with a narcissist, they're not even going to admit to being stuck in the red, but they are. We all know that. But you may identify with being stuck in the red and you don't want to anymore. You want to move up, right? And you're not going to move up like that, but it's going to take time. And in that time, it's not just time that it takes, because time's going to go by either way. And if you don't do anything to change internally, how in the world is anything externally going to change? It's not. So to do the inner work, to change, to transform, to move out of being stuck in that emotionally immature place in the red zone, all the way up to the yellow, and then up to the green, by doing things differently, right? Definition of insanity, I always say it, and you know what it is. I don't even need to say it. So what are you going to do for you to move you up? If you're ready to take back and identify and connect with those inner fears, those inner knots, those inner places that you're stuck in the red, and you're ready to do the inner work to change, I invite you to hop on over and take a look at my website and see what other people have said about using the power of your own mind, going within yourself to transform, to change very quickly, much faster than other people would lead you to believe, because then they just benefit even more from you continuing to be dependent on them. The goal is to get to the green zone, to get to that level of independence within yourself, so you're not stuck in that red, not stuck in that dependence on anything outside yourself. And that's my goal. And that is what we work towards getting you to as quickly as possible. So with all that said, what level of maturity are you at? And if you're ready to transform and change it, click on the link below this video. Check out my website, link to connect. There's a link to have free consultations on there. I would love to connect with you and talk more about this. All right, guys, have a great day.